What if I were to tell you that this tiny little piece of copper-coated nickel was one of the most powerful trinkets in existence? That the humble little penny could change the course of your life in ways you couldn't possibly fathom? Would you believe me? As we grow older, most of us tend to become more aware of and take on more of life's burdens. We get out of high school and college and enter the workforce. We start to develop meaningful relationships. People settle down and have families. We start to pay electric, water, gas, internet, insurance, and groceries. We have to take care of our emotional, mental, and physical health. And we have to work jobs we hate in order to pay for all that. All of that before we can even dream of the fun stuff. Life becomes an endless sea of sucky responsibility that drains every ounce of strength that we have on a good day, and even more on the bad ones. Over the last couple of years, in order to not only perform these basic tasks, but to give myself the opportunity to move towards my long-term goals, I've taken up walking. It's a mindless, soothing activity that allows me to not only go outside and touch grass, and breathe in the slightly toxic air of the city I live in, but also helps me get my endorphins running. All while I listen to music, audiobooks, and podcasts as the rest of the world passes me by. And I find it relaxing. It helps me clear some of the incessant nagging worries that fill my head when I just sit still. But over the last couple of years, I also started doing something new. While still wrapped in these thoughts and stories, I simultaneously have found myself scouring the ground for loose change, looking for that little shine and shape of coin sparkling in the sun. And every time I find one, I get a little dopamine rush. Something that struck me, though, about this new hobby is how much change I've been able to find. It's a lot. Some days it's just a penny, and others I can find practically whole piggy banks. I once found a solid 1-ounce silver coin and a crisp $100 bill someone had dropped in a parking lot. And that's not even accounting for the other rare coins like silver dimes and wheat pennies, etc. that you occasionally find scattered in there. Suffice to say that over the last couple of years, I've amassed a sizable chunk of change. Pun intended. Though, truthfully, I didn't really notice how much until one day I accidentally knocked over one of these change jars. And that's when it struck me. Like a gigantic penny jar falling on your foot. How little we understand or appreciate the value of the humble little penny. Now, I'm not talking about its monetary value. That's obvious enough. Penny is worth 1 US cent, 5 are worth 5 cents or a nickel, 10 a dime, 25 a quarter, or 100 a dollar, etc., etc. And we won't dwell on how much it costs to actually mint the coins, or the inherent truth of the idea that the more money you get, the more power you have. At least not in this video. So why focus on the penny? Why am I putting so much effort into the most inconsequential unit of currency? One that most people are fine just throwing away. If you lost a penny, you probably wouldn't notice. Like if you were in the middle of grocery shopping at the store and you heard that little ping as the penny from your change hit the floor, would you stop everything, put your groceries down, and get down on your hands and knees to look for it? I might, because I'm a weirdo and I've conditioned myself to look for that sort of thing, but if we're honest with ourselves, most people wouldn't. I mean, it is just a penny, the smallest unit of fiat currency. Who gives a crap if you drop a couple, right? You'll forget about it before you even leave the parking lot, especially given every other responsibility that dominates our headspace. So why or how are we supposed to care about something so small? Because I posit that it's the small, unseen things which build up over time that have the greatest impact on our lives. If I was to ask you, what moments or events in your life stick out? You'd probably immediately recall the big things. Events like successful relationships and marriages, particularly painful heartbreaks, divorces, the birth of kids, deaths, big career breaks, etc. So let's imagine ourselves still in that grocery store.
System processing.
And these big events are represented by the big bills, $100 bills, $50 bills, 20s. If you drop one of them, you're not likely to forget that you dropped it. You'll stop and pick it up immediately, every single time. So what about other still significant, but maybe not quite as big events? Things like getting your driver's license, family vacation, your first sale at a job, graduating high school, getting into college, etc. Let's imagine these events represented by slightly smaller denominations. 10s, 5s, 1s. If you drop one, you'll probably stop and pick it up, won't you? I mean, $10 is nothing to sneeze at. But what about the smaller stuff? Do you readily recall the time a stranger let you cut ahead of them in a line at a grocery store? The time someone lent you a pencil in class before a test? Or how it felt when your teacher called you quiet and shy? Probably not immediately, right? Events like these are among the millions we experience which aren't readily memorable in the grand scheme. They tend to get lost in the great cacophony and complexity of our lives, washed away like tears in rain. Or so we think. Because whether we recognize it or not, these tiny events are still incredibly important and formative in our lives. There's this tendency to believe that we exist from moment to moment, that we are who we are and always have been. But that's not true. We don't live our lives existing only within singular moments. We exist on a long and winding path where every action we take, every choice we make, is preceded by one and which directly leads to others. Every choice we make is formed based at least in part on our previous experiences. Everything exists within context. So each small, seemingly innocuous choice, every action, every event, every circumstance or penny that we ignore or pick up can have far-reaching ripples in our lives. Actions have consequences, and whether we turn left or right at a fork in the road, that choice is made through the echoes of our past. In a very real way, the smallest of actions lead our lives, each compounding over time to change our patterns of behavior until we've reached our present state. Sometimes the small actions, events, and circumstances change us for the better, helping form us into better, kinder, and more empathetic people. And sometimes they change us for the worse. Now, I don't want people thinking that because of the weight and power of our past, that our lives are predetermined, because they're absolutely not. Our past is certainly a heavy load to bear, but it's not impossible to change. Which brings me to my next point. My goal with this series doesn't end with simply unearthing the hidden pennies in our lives. Once we've identified these events, thoughts, patterns of behavior which develop from these moments, I want us to take the next step, to reflect, to learn, and to grow, to recognize how these pennies might be altering our path. And then with that knowledge, we have the power to make conscious decisions to alter it, to improve our lives, our conditions, and our futures. Do you regularly undervalue and undermine yourself and what you can do? Do you suffer from imposter syndrome, or body dysmorphia, or stage fright? Do you struggle to connect with people, either as friends or romantically? All these things are linked. I know because I've suffered from all of the above and much more. And while I'm still not perfect by any means, I found ways to improve my life and the lives of other people around me by the recognition and alteration of small things in my life. Everyone is fighting a battle they won't let us see, and we should always be striving to better understand not only ourselves, but the people who we surround ourselves with. I want to use this series to open people's eyes. We spend so much of our lives locked within ourselves, locked on a singular path. But sometimes it takes viewing someone else's failures to uncover and understand our own. One kind gesture, one kind word, might ripple out to change someone's life for the better. You may not agree with everything I say or my own experiences, but if you allow yourself to be open, you might be surprised at what you discover. So, take a walk with me. Let's look for some pennies, shall we? Hey everyone, this is Editor Kit here now. Taking a look at the footage, I realized after the fact that I had been talking about how many pennies I had, but I had not really shown that to you. So, this is not the total amount. Headphone users, please watch your ears. This is. Yeah, that's a lot. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out the channel. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye, guys.